Okay, so our overall topic is the planting of English America. Our first subtopic is England plants the Jamestown seedling. And now I'm going to start lecturing and you're going to take notes. We'll see how you do. Okay, in 1606, and this was 2 years after England and Spain reached a peace agreement, because all these European nations are always competitive and they're always kind of at war with each other. So in 1606, which was 2 years after peace was reached between England and Spain, the English hand of destiny started in America. Okay, in 1606, 2 years after peace between England and Spain, the English hand of destiny started in America. In 1606, 2 years after peace between England and Spain, the English hand of destiny started in America. Taylor, what do I mean by the English hand of destiny? I'm going to... Okay. In 2015, after conflicts were resolved between Worland Middle School and Worland High School, the high school hand of destiny started in Taylor Nielsen. What does that mean? Anybody? Yeah, that term, but anybody know what that means? What's the English hand of destiny? Had England ever had a hand in America prior to that? Really? No. What it means is the first English roots started in America in 1606, after Spain and England settled their differences. And when they settled their differences, the English hand of destiny in America started in Virginia. These are the type of terms that they're going to use on an AP exam. You're going to have to kind of know what that means. The English hand of destiny means England is going to put their hand for the first time and forever on American soil. Is it called America then? Kind of. North America, but not America as we know it today. Now, where did it start in America? We know it as a state today, but where did it start in 1606? No. Somebody said Jamestown, but where was it located? Present-day Virginia. So, if you really look at that, in 1606, and I'm going real slow because it's your first time here. In 1606, 2 years after peace between England and Spain, the English hand of destiny started in America, specifically in Virginia. Okay? Now, this is something else you have to really understand. A company called the Virginia Company of London, which is on your ID sheet, a company, and if you don't want to know how to spell that or whatever, you'd have that sheet in front of you. So look at this. Oh, nice job. You have that in front of you so you can see it. The Virginia Company of London received a charter Anybody know what a charter is? Hey, somebody whip out, go ahead there, Miss Barr, whip out that fancy dictionary I gave you and look up charter, just for the fun. We're just kind of doing this, we're breaking ourselves in today. Look up charter. What does it say? I'm not putting you on the spot. This is how this class works. I'm going to get to all of you. Even you know.
Document granting rights.
Thank you. A document granting rights. Now, who would the Virginia Company of London get a charter, or what was it again? A document granting rights. Who would they get a document like that from? The Virginia Company of London. Where's London located? England. So who's going to give them that document of rights? Who's going to give them the rights? The king. And what's his name? King James? King James? Now get that sheet out. See, you're looking smart, but you get to be smarter. King James the First. So, We're talking about this English hand of destiny in America. It started in 1606. How did it start? The Virginia Company of London received a charter from King James I, who was the King of England. And what was that charter for? What was the definition of a charter again?
Document granting rights.
Okay, what right are they going to be granted? The right to build a what in Virginia? Settlement. We'll call it settlement for now. A settlement. So, the Virginia Company of London in 1606, after differences were settled between Spain and England, received a charter from King James I of England for a settlement in the New World. Now, there were two reasons why the Virginia Company of London wanted to have a settlement in the New World. Two reasons why. Milo, why do you think? What do you think one of them was? Now, hopefully, if you had world history, Mr. Dorn kind of talked about the Columbus and some philosophies there. What were the two reasons why the Virginia Company of London wanted to get a charter from King James I to come to the New World? Close. Not tobacco yet, but something more valuable. Didn't have to grow it. What? Gold. So they came for gold. That was the first reason. The attraction to the New World was a promise of gold, which they heard was in abundance in the New World. Okay, what else did explorers want to find? If you go back to Columbus and Magellan and De Soto, what were most of them looking for? Go ahead, Will.
Land.
Close, Nick?
Passage.
Thank a passage to the East Indies, right? Because if you look at North and South America, can you get through there very easy prior to the Panama Canal and get to the East Indies? They're all looking for a passage. They don't know this land. They think there's got to be a way to get across, from the Atlantic to the Pacific. So they were looking for a passage. So the two reasons why the Virginia Company of London even asked for a charter from King James I was to settle in the New World looking for gold and a passage through America to the East Indies. Because there's two different Indies, aren't they? West and East. Where are the West Indies located kind of by? Anybody know? What, Oregon? Are they located by Oregon? No. Where at? Courtney, where are the West Indies?
In the
Thank you, in the Caribbean. See, she's busted out now. The new student's busted out. Got her first answer. Very good. But the East Indies had stories of riches. Gold and silver, famous riches. And they all wanted to get to the East Indies. Okay? Now this is kind of interesting because when the Virginia Company received this charter from King James of England for these two reasons, they only thought that this would last a few years. Because what they wanted to do is they wanted to come in there, the people that were invested in the company, they wanted to come in there and make this big profit. They wanted to get this gold and find this ways to the East Indies. Then they were just going to liquidate the company. It wasn't going to last forever. But it ended up being the seedling that lasted forever. Okay? So again, the Virginia Company was intended to only last a few years. As stockholders were going to liquidate, get a quick profit, and move on. Now, when they receive a charter to settle, what are they going to do? How are they going to settle that? What are they going to do? You think the stockholders, maybe some, you think the stockholders are coming over and settle this savage land they don't even know anything about? How are they going to settle it? They're going to talk colonists that want a better life to come over and settle this colony. Okay? Now, if you were a colonist and you agreed to come to America or the New World to form a settlement, would the pressure be on you? How would the pressure be on you? Have you ever been over here? Do you have any idea what it's like? Okay? So if these stockholders don't strike it rich and find this gold and find this route to the East Indies, what are they going to do? They're going to abandon the company. And you think they're going to take those people back home? No. Okay? So the colonists that agreed to come over were under tremendous pressure because if things didn't work out for the Virginia Company of London, they were afraid that they were going to be left there and abandoned. Now here's what's kind of interesting. None of those stockholders in Virginia, this company, ever dreamed that their investment would turn out to be the seeds of the mightiest country in the world. Okay, they never dreamed, they never suspected that the seeds of a mighty nation were being planted with this charter that they brought over. Never a clue that this was going to amount and transform from a part-time or temporary deal to forming the country we know today as the United States. Now, if you were someone that was thinking about going over there, what would you want guaranteed to you if you were one of these people that went over there? You all have good answers there, but if we send you, I'm trying to make a good example here. I can't think of good. I can think of one that might make sense. Would you want this? Would you want to be protected if you went over there? Would you want to? You would want the rights of protection. So if you agree to go over there, you're going to want to be protected and treated as an Englishman, just as if you were in England. Would you not? So that's one thing that these colonists were interested in, was having the same rights of Englishmen and enjoy the same rights of Englishmen that they would have enjoyed if they were still living in England. So they didn't want to give up their English citizenship, which is kind of interesting when you think about where this ends up with what? Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So think about it. So this charter guaranteed the overseas settlers the same rights of Englishmen that they would have enjoyed if they had stayed in England. Okay? Now, the Virginia Company also made it somewhat clear that if this settlement is successful, there will be more settlements that end up coming over, and they would embrace the traditions of the mother country or England. Does that make sense? So what they're telling these colonists is that, you know, if this works out, we'll make other colonies. But, you know, we'll still have English traditions, because that was a concern. As ironic as it is, they wanted English citizenship and the same rights, and they wanted the traditions of England. Even though they were, you know, 3,000 miles across the ocean, they still wanted the same traditions. So they were guaranteed the rights as citizens, and guaranteed that there would be more colonies, and that all these colonies would have traditional English views. Does that make sense? Okay? Now what's ironic is 150 years later, they weren't interested, as these colonies built, to the rights of Englishmen. Okay? Things happen that we'll talk about, like taxation without representation, that has all these Englishmen and English women all of a sudden resenting their mother country, which led us to an independent revolution known as the American Revolution. So even though England plants the Jamestown seed, and they did, and without that we don't have an America today. It's just ironic that these people that came over wanted their rights, they wanted to be treated as Englishmen, they wanted English traditions, and it took them 150 years to decide, we've had enough of England, we want to be on our own. We'll talk about that later. Okay? Does anybody have any questions on that at all? Okay? Any questions at all on that? Okay, well that's just a little bit of a sampling. What's the next subtopic? The English settlement in Jamestown. So we'll tell you about this settlement, how it started, what happened, how many people were involved, how well it worked, who led it, etc. on Monday. That'll be our topic on Monday, and we'll continue on. This is a real short, this lecture is going to take us till about next Wednesday or something like that, and then we're going to have kind of a testy quiz, I call it, and we'll just see how well that you retain this information. Okay, so this will be a short test material just to make sure we're on the right path. Okay, any questions at all? Now I got